Hi, good evening. My name is Yasmin Alande Dios, and this is my video for the subject learning strategy with the teacher Normalilis Espinosa. In this video, I am going to talk about strategy instruction. First, I am going to talk about the importance of the strategy instruction, why to use it. Its implication in the classroom, it means what about the materials, the teacher's roles, the student's roles, and the approaches to use it explicitly or implicitly. And finally, I will make a proposal of some strategies that I will teach in my classes. Okay, so let's start. To promote the development of learning strategy in a student is not a question of teaching them new content, but rather is training them in the acquisition of a skill. It means that we as teachers are going to provide our students with some strategies that we help them to know how to learn something. It is not just content. We are going to train them in order to develop the skills to learn something. Okay, they are going to learn how to learn something. Okay, according to Oxford and Labour 1996, strategy instruction will help learners to become more active, more autonomous, self-directed, and more discerning about what strategies are best for them as individuals. It's a teaching practice that shows students how to learn the content or skills they need to acquire. It provides students with clear strategies to help them process, remember, and express information they learned. Okay, why use strategy instruction? Well, as we have been seen before, learning to learn, this concept is connected to a social constructivist approach of education and learning. Okay, here the student is responsible for constructing their own, his own learning. Okay, this is also a means of enhancing learners' procedural knowledge, and as we have seen in the previous chapters, this will lead to a more successful learning, which will also enhance the motivation, increase the motivation that the students have. And finally, of course, they will help the students to overcome the limitations they have in their competence, linguistic competences. When they have facing some problems or some troubles when they are communicating, they could use these strategies in order to solve those problems. Okay, so it will help them to overcome these limitations. Okay, well, main features that we can mention of this is that it will help the students to become experts in using strategies that help them the most. It means that we are not going to teach all the students to use the same strategies, but that we are going to teach them how to identify those strategies that work for them. Okay, some strategies are going to fit for some students and some other for other students. Okay, and they are going to be able to identify this. Okay, now let's talk about the strategy instruction in the classroom. Well, as in any other models or works that we have been working, there are some critics in this strategy instruction. And some author mentions that it could be a waste of time. Why? Not because the students are not able to use them to learn them, but that maybe because of the linguistic competencies students have. Maybe they are not good enough at the English in this case, and maybe that's why they are not be able to use them. Okay, some other authors mentioned that there could be some problems of implementation of the strategy, and this is due to the cultural differences. For example, ages, educational background, beliefs about the language from the teacher and for the students itself, and the varying cognitive styles. So these critics lead us to a question that we as teachers must answer. How teachable are learning strategies? Are they really teachable? Okay, this is something that we must wonder. Despite criticism, it has been pointed out that it is not a question of learning successfully using a specific strategy, but that the students must develop their own repertoire or combination. We could mention, okay, this is a strategy, this is how to use it, but maybe they are going to adapt them, they are going to create their own, okay, and this is the main goal of this of the strategy instruction, okay. Then the strategy instruction framework. Well, if the strategies are not a waste of time and they are really teachable, what is exactly the teacher supposed to do? Well, there have been suggested two different frameworks. The first one was by Chapman and Robin in 1994. If they mention some steps in order to follow, in order to work with the strategy instruction. First, the teacher must discover and discuss the strategy students already know. So we must ask the student, okay, how do you solve this problem? How do you, what are the strategies do you use in order to learn something? Okay, and we discuss the ones that they use. Now the teacher presents in the new strategies by explicitly naming them and describing them. The teacher must model the strategy for the students to use them to follow him. And then a teacher must explain why and when to use the strategy. And of course, provide extensive practice. Okay, then 2 years later, there was a second framework suggested, which is more complex. Here you could see that in one hand we have at the beginning, in the early stages, is the teacher's responsibility to prepare, to present, to explain, to model the strategy, practice, or evaluate. But then on the other hand, we could see that gradually teacher becomes more responsible for using the strategy. At the beginning, he attends, participates, he applies the strategy with the guidance of the teacher, he assesses the strategy, and finally, he will use the strategy independently. So the idea of this framework is that the strategy instruction is scaffolded. So in the early stages at the top, the teacher is responsible for explaining and modeling the strategy. Gradually, it becomes the responsibility of the students until they can independently use the strategy. Okay. Now, regarding teaching materials for strategy instructions, we can find course books, we can find specific learning strategy instruction books, and also self-directed strategy instruction materials. The first one are course books. We can find some sections on the book that are that mention the development of some learning strategies. They tell us as teacher how to use it, or what strategies we could use, right? Then the specific learning strategy instruction books are books that are focused on this, that provide activities to encourage students to reflect their own language, their own strategy, and use and develop new ones. Okay, the aim of this material is to provide alternatives to make informed choices on what, how, why, when, and where to learn something. And finally, the self-direct direct strategy instruction that are designed to be used by the students who work alone. They could be printed book or multimedia programs. Okay, we have 3 different kinds of materials. Okay, now focus on the strategy instruction. We have 2 ways to approach it, which is implicitly or explicitly. When it is implicitly, there is no direct mention of the strategies made. We don't say, okay, we are learning the strategies. No, it is just, it comes naturally. And on the other hand, an explicitly approach, students are required to reflect on their learning strategy use. Okay, the students anticipate a goal to focus on when they are working. Okay, we're telling we are learning a strategy. This is a strategy you're going to use. You must be aware of this. You are learning how to learn. Okay, you are learning the strategy. Okay, there are the 2 different approaches. And then, well, now how to teach metacognitive strategies. We have been seen before that. You have seen before that there are 3 kinds of strategies. In this case, teaching metacognitive strategies involves a series of steps that involves thinking about the learning process, planning the learning, monitoring the learning task, and evaluating how well it is one has learned. Okay, so following these steps, it's like a way to be following, okay, how to teach the strategies. Okay, in this case, they mention metacognitive, but we can use it in the different kind of strategies. Okay, and now the teacher's role. What is the teacher's role in an strategy instructions? Okay, well, a teacher must be classified, we said that, in 3 different categories. Maybe there are teachers who are assimilators. It means teachers that are capable of adapt the teaching practice to promote the strategy instruction. Then we have the middle grounders that are teachers who want to shift to this new concept of a teaching strategy, well, teaching strategies, but they are not entirely commitment, maybe because it is kind of hard for them. And then we have the resistors, that are those teachers who are unable to change the teaching model. Okay, but then why not to be a change agent? Okay, it means to become teachers that are facilitator of learning. In this case, the teacher's role is to help the students to become more independent, responsible for their own learning. In this role, the teachers become partners of learner process. Okay, so it is up to us if we decided to become a change agents, or if we are just resistors or middle grounders. Okay, it is up to us if we decided to help our students. Okay, and finally, there are some issues in strategy instruction that we have to consider. If as teacher we decide to implement a program of teaching strategies, there are some issues that we need to consider carefully. First, we have to check if the strategy that we are teaching is long-term or short-term, if it should be approached implicitly or explicitly, in which way, and if the teacher should cover a comprehensive list of a strategy or just a limited number of them. Okay, there are some things that we have to think before planning to teach an strategy. Okay, well, now let's talk about my proposal. In this proposal, I am going to try to solve a problem that I'm facing with my students in my classes. That is how to remember the order of adjectives when describing a noun. Okay, this is going to be my proposal. Well, what is the activity about? Well, currently I am working with my class of 30 with adjectives, and I can see that they have some troubles when using the correct order of adjectives. When they have 2 or 3 adjectives to describe the same noun, they are having problems in where to put each adjective. Okay, during this activity, we will work with cognitive strategy, which are tools the students can use to acquire, remember, and express information. In this case, the problem is that they do not remember the order. So I am trying to solve this problem with this teaching them this strategy. Okay, so I will approach a cognitive strategy. Students will work on developing their own acronym to remember the order of the adjectives. This is the activity about. Okay, steps to be followed. Well, teacher will provide a chart with the 9 categories of the order of adjectives. Okay, I'm going to say, okay, first is opinion, age, etc. Right? So then a teacher will model how to create an acronym. Okay, we guide the students to do the same, but according to what it works for them. I can provide a model that I can tell, okay, you use your creativity in order to create this acronym to remember the order. Students will use their own acronym in order to answer some written exercises provided by the teacher regarding the order of adjectives. And finally, they are going to have more practice, and they will be in charge of writing their own sentences using different activities to describe the same noun. Okay, well, the material that the teaching context. Well, I have decided to do this activity because I am working with students with a public secondary school, and they are between ages of 12 and 15 years old. They have low level of English. We are coming back from 2 years of virtual classes, so they have a lack of of vocabulary, in this case, adjectives. This time I will apply this strategy with their grade. This is the topic that they are working with. The strategy will be approached explicitly. I will tell them, okay, and a strategy you could use in order to learn something is this, okay? In this case, a acronym, okay? Well, and now, the material that I will use these pages. They are from a page that is live worksheets. In this case, it's adjective word order. You can see there that it is an acronym. Okay, this is the model that I will use, but I will tell them that they are free to use the acronym they decide according to what is to their needs. Okay, what it works for them. And finally, for further practice, I will provide this one. They have the categories. They are going to classify the adjectives, and they are going to describe those nouns that are there according to the proper order of adjectives. I hope that this activity will work for me and for my students. And this is my proposal. Next week, I will be talking about how it was. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Okay, those are the references of my work, and thank you a lot. Goodbye.